This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Andrew Paterson, Michael Remis with you. Lots to chew on today, including we've got an arbitration date for Dylan Sandberg. We're wondering whether that was going to become public. It is. That date is next Wednesday, July 30th. We'll hit that and much more with Ken Wiebe, who's going to join us a little later on in the program for the latest on the Jets and the National Hockey League's offseason. We'll also kick around a few fun topics with none other than Sergio Castillo of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, who's going to join us after practice today. And good news on Blue Bombers practice right out of the gate. Zach Collaros was under center today and practicing. He will be expected to start on the weekend against the Toronto Argonauts. Zach did also appear, if you haven't checked it out already, on the Handled Internally podcast with, of course, Eddie Tate and DC, Darren Cameron. Pat Neufeld was the guest. Zach on it said he's feeling better, and he referred to it as more precautionary that he did not return to the football game on Friday. But good news on the Bombers. We'll get the latest on the team and see how things are feeling around Bomberland after a couple of big losses to the Calgary Stampeders that have sort of upset the apple cart after that nice 3-0 start. But maybe the biggest story around Canadian sports right now is this run of the Toronto Blue Jays. A huge win last night to open a series at home against the New York Yankees. Jays win 4-1. Max Scherzer on the hill tonight in Game 2 of the series, and we will head to TO. Josh Goldberg from Blue Jays Nation going to join us coming up in just a bit. So a little bit of baseball, some football, some hockey talk. We're covering all of it today on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Great to have you here. Listen, just before we bring in Michael Remis, welcome to everybody in chat. I did see Duck Dad saying he was loving the first couple of WST winners shows. And just wondering when they'll be gone. We will have a couple coming up over the course of the next couple weeks. But, Duck Dad, it's going to get busy in August. We will have some NFL Futures shows in advance of the regular season. And then probably the highlight of the WST winners for the entire year is going to be the weekly NFL Pick Show. Patty and Jake will be jumping on. We'll have some other special guests. And then Remis, Connor, and myself will also do some extensive WST winners talking hockey once the NHL season gets going. I think I'm even going to mix in, because our friends at CoolBet do have WWE odds. We'll do something for SummerSlam as well as we head into that. But today the focus is on WST Daily for the next couple hours, and then CFL 110 live right after WST today. Myself and Jeff Hamilton with all the big stories in the Canadian Football League coming out of last week. And we will hit the early lines over at CoolBet with our picks against the spread, as we do have lines today. And, of course, we'll touch on those a little later on. Speaking of CoolBet, huge thanks to the sponsors that make the show happen each and every day. CoolBet Canada, Princess Auto, St. Vital Dental Center and Rollies Transfer, Canadian Club, Manitoba Battery, Aikens Lake Wilderness Lodge, F Apparel, Royal Sports, Boston Pizza, Little Brown Jug, the Winnipeg Gold Eyes, Assiniboia Downs. Live racing is tonight at the track. Remo and I will do our picks later on for this evening. Of course, Breezy Bend, home of the 2025 Manitoba Open. We'll get to a why not question of the day for Not Autocorp at Waverly and McGillivray, and kick around your fan feedback for fansfirst.ca. Michael Remis, what's going on?
Hey, yeah, pumped for another edition of CFL 110, and we're making our way through the summer here, waiting for Jets news. And we had Gabriel Vilardi's introductory press conference yesterday. Some great comments from him. As you mentioned, the Dylan Sandberg arbitration date. So We anticipate something will get done before next week on July 30th. Will it be Friday during the marble race again? I guess we'll just have to stay tuned. Stay tuned there. And the Bombers, all eyes on Zach Collaros. I think when we saw that he was on the Handled Internally podcast, he was going to be fine. And
that
I
was
think
a good sign.
You've seen this before with him in the past where, if he gets banged up, they take him out precautionary. You don't want to have a Davis Alexander situation where you put him in too early and you end up injured longer term. So we'll see what it is from practice. Derek Taylor is reporting on X that Collaros was in. One person who was not in, was a huge part of the offense, Stanley Bryant, not there. Vanderpool still in at left tackle. This would be the second week he's missed practice, Stanley Bryant. So we'll see. And Cody Case continues with the starting receivers. Cody Case actually made some noise there at the end of the game, catching the garbage time touchdown, helping out everyone who took him for really cheap on DraftKings.
Really cheap in DraftKings. Well, I'm sure it's nice to have, it's nice for some good to come out of last week's game. I mean, for my money, the highlight was, well, Nick Dembski played his ass off. That I felt bad, that we were focusing so much on what happened in the fourth quarter, because Dembski was in hero mode right from the get-go in that game, and obviously things sort of fell apart on the team after Zach went out, and the picks by Chris Streveler sort of really flipped that game for the Calgary Stampeders. But man, was Nick Dembski good, and sort of wasting one of his finest performances of the year. The other guy, though, that was nails is the guy that you can pretty much count on to be week in and week out. That, of course, is Sergio Castillo. That 58-yarder he put up early in the game was just one of, you get used to it, seeing Sergio go out there and blast these ones near 60 yards. Not a lot of guys in the league and pro football, period, can do that. And Sergio will join us a little later on. Hey, just before we dive into some of these other topics, how many tornado warnings did you get on your phone last night?
Man, my phone must have been broken because I got zero. And we were on the phone with...
You got zero?
We were on the phone with my in-laws. My wife and I got zero on the phone with my in-laws. Their phones were going crazy as we were FaceTiming with them. And I'm looking outside and went from nice to rain everywhere. We didn't get any. I don't understand. My dad got, and I'm on, what was my provider? TELUS? My dad's also on the same one. He got them. So I don't know why my wife and I didn't get any.
Wow. I didn't know anyone still had TELUS in Manitoba.
Great. Hey, I got a great rate. Yeah, they're still kicking around. They're all the same here. Go where you can get the best rate.
Here's an early why not question of the day for Not Autocorp at Waverly and McGillivray. For those of you in the chat, how many times did your phone blow up with the tornado warning yesterday? And the reason I ask this is that, I had a few, but I finished up after work, hooked up with a couple buddies, went over to the bar to watch the Jays game. And for a period of about an hour, phones were randomly going off nonstop. Like, I would get one, and then a minute later, the person next to me, the back, it was just essentially the 45 to an hour period where those tornado warnings were in effect. It was just a carnival of the alarm sounds off of phones everywhere where we were at. And we were trying to figure out any sort of a pattern to them. Like, you're on Rogers. When did you get yours? You're on Bell. When did you get yours? And it was very, very strange as opposed to when it was. Now, listen, I'm not sitting here complaining about tornado warnings. I mean, these are important. And I think part of the reason why so many people got them, even if you were in Winnipeg where there wasn't a tornado warning, is that better safe than sorry. And we've seen people lose their lives in these severe weather and dangerous situations. But I did leave yesterday's fireworks in the sky wondering exactly how this is set up right now, because we got a million reminders on the phone of what was happening. Watching the Jays game, nothing on the television, although maybe that was just the Sportsnet channel that we had. But it was an eventful weather day in and around, and certainly people were reminding of it, even in Winnipeg where there were no tornado warnings. because those things just kept going and going and going.
Yeah, nice to have some rain. We know you've been needing it for a long time. You were at Aikens Lake a couple weeks ago where you had to be evacuated due to the forest fires, and my grass looking very yellow. So nice to have some rain here in the forecast. We do have some breaking news here, seeing it in the chat, and it's coming out. Ozzy Osbourne has died at age 76. They just had the final show, massive celebration of rock legends a couple weekends ago, and that was it. Crazy to see the news. A guy who seemingly had so many
lives. 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, it was like July 5, I think, or July. It was the weekend of first weekend of July. Insane.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ozzy. I mean, hey, listen. There was something to be said for Ozzy performing right until the end. You kind of felt like he would do that. And I am always dubious when I hear particularly legendary rock acts say, this is our final tour. I mean, I think Motley Crue's had about 5 final tours already. And listen, Ozzy was coming back, and listen, there's a demand for him. But with that show, it was very clear when you saw Ozzy perform that was the end of the road for him. And it was a great celebration of his amazing career. But kind of shocking news to hear that just literally a couple weeks after we saw him up on stage, that Ozzy's passed away at the age of 76. What an incredible run he had. And he will go down as one of the most memorable and truly characters in rock and roll history, I'd say. I mean, I remember as a kid, being at school, hearing all the stories of Ozzy, biting the head off a bat. And I couldn't really wrap my head around it. But as you get a little older, I mean, you realize that he was part of some of the great metal contributions of all time. And then as you got into, later on in his career with Sharon sort of being the brains of the operation, leaders in reality TV, the Osbourne show. And that was all about the crazy ways of Ozzy Osbourne, this wild man we remembered from his metal career, being this kind of doting old guy that, was at home. So a lot of fans for Ozzy Osbourne, and a lot of people that will be paying their respects with this unfortunate news that Ozzy's passed away as we get on the air.
Yeah, that news coming out on the Newswire, all the UK tabloids are on, and that final show has raised more than $190 million for charities, something benefiting Parkinson's and other, Birmingham Children's Hospital. So, I mean, incredible concert that a couple weeks ago was the last one, and have this news today. Again, seemed like a guy who had many lives.
That's for sure.
Crazy stuff off the stage. Great performer on the stage. Until the end, you saw him rocking out in the chair at 76. Very, very crazy. So yeah, Sky News and other UK publications reporting that with a statement from his family. So it's coming out today here, July 22, 25.
TMZ has it. And
they have it now?
Has it, that it's that is
okay.
big.
They have it now.
Some unfortunate news to start off the program. As I mentioned, we're going to have Sergio Castillo join us coming up a little bit later on, Remo. But thoughts on Zach Collaros being in practice today, and what that means for the Bombers going into Toronto. Jeff and I will get into this on CFL 110. Regardless of who is playing quarterback for both teams, this has been a very, very tough for Winnipeg to win in recent years. And this is going to be a desperate Argos team that only has 1 win on the season, coming off blowing it last week in the fourth quarter against the Alouettes.
Yeah, I think you got to feel pretty good that he's in, and believe, yes, it was precautionary. John Hodge has the video. He's participating in warm-ups. Derek Taylor saying he's under center in the early part. So I think you have to feel confident. As long as he's in, I think the Bombers have a chance to win. I would like to see him out-duel Nick Arbuckle and get some revenge. I don't know if it's necessarily revenge, but get a win after the last time these two quarterbacks went head to head. So I think you have to be encouraged. Hopefully they have to find a way to not let Coxie or Maitel, whatever receiver, get behind wide open in the end zone. Because, Nick Arbuckle thought it was a bit of a miracle game, but you look at the CFL league leaders right now, he's number 3 in passing yards, 1691, just behind Vernon Adams and Bo Levi Mitchell, ahead of Trevor Harris and Nathan Rourke. So he's having a good season. The defense, not what it was last year, but I agree with you. Going into Toronto, going into Hamilton, sometimes these places out east give the Bombers trouble, even when they're at their best coming into it. So I think it's going to be a tough game, even when you look at Toronto's record at 1-5. I don't know if the Bombers are desperate for a win at 3-2, losing 2 in a row. I mean, Toronto probably more desperate at 1-5, but you want to have that good feeling. And it is one of those pesky back-to-backs because they go to Toronto and then Toronto comes back here. Well, another quirk of the Bombers schedule this year, one of many.
Yeah, listen, we've been talking about it since it came out, just how weird the schedule has been. Back-to-back games against BC to start things off. A game against Edmonton, and then back-to-back games against Calgary, followed by back-to-back games against Toronto. And, I always say, it's really tough to beat a team twice. But then you look at what's happened so far this year, and the Bombers were successful in beating BC twice, and then they lost twice to the Calgary Stampeders. So, listen, if you want to get 2, you got to get the first one. And BMO Field has been a bit of a graveyard for Winnipeg. But certainly the Bombers are going to have a better chance to win with Zach Collaros. And Zach coming back in, again, you can listen to a little bit more of Handled Internally, and where he talked right off the bat about how he was feeling. He did mention his history of, I believe he referred to it as upper body injuries, made them be cautious and keep him out as a precautionary, but he'll be back. And I would imagine, Remo, that Mr. Collaros, along with everybody, on frankly both sides of the football, will be quite motivated to have a much, much better performance than they are able to put together against the Calgary Stampeders. And while you're going to need some production from your offense, you're going to want to establish the run and continue to use it. To me, the biggest question for the Bombers going into this game is going to be Jordan Younger's side. I mean, Jordan Younger did not have a great Grey Cup, I would suggest, based on what the defense was and wasn't able to do in Vancouver last year. And certainly they're coming off their toughest performance of the season, just absolutely not able to get off the field on Friday night. And we talked quite a bit yesterday about how successful Calgary was with all of those second down conversions. So, you mentioned Nick Arbuckle has been throwing the football. It's not like they haven't been doing anything offensively. They just found some different ways to lose. And the Bombers are going to need to be much, much better, assuming that it is Arbuckle, and certainly if Chad Kelly gets back into the mix in these next couple of games.
Yeah, I don't know what it was last week, but Damian Alford seems to find a way to get wide open in the end zone. He's also big and can make leaping catches. So they're going to have to try to get some pressure. And I know pressure's been a concern when they're struggling on Arbuckle, and try to force him into making mistakes. And for the offense, hey, another game without Dalton Schoen. Cody Case, you saw him find his way near the end, although it was with Strevler at quarterback. You're going to need Carrick Wheatfall step up. And is he now the guy, him and Nick Dembski? I mean, Nick Dembski's trying to do everything he can, including on one of those interceptions that Zach threw on the big hit to try to prevent it. Wasn't able to. Thought the Bombers were in the game, even though they were trailing, until that Strevler end zone interception. So, we'll wait and see. I'm sure Zach will be fine, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of conversation, Huss, about this being a Grey Cup rematch. Of course, Collaros had to leave that game too with the hand injury, bringing back all the bad memories today, Huss.
Let's just focus on the good news. Zach is available. The Bombers are back at practice, and we'll talk to Sergio Castillo a little later on. The entire chat is just dominated by Ozzy Osbourne right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I will, we won't do up a poll here, but I'll do a why not question of the day for not AutoCorp at Waverly and McGillivray. By popular demand, looking for people's favorite Ozzy Osbourne song. Turd Ferguson mentions Mama I'm Coming Home is the best power ballad of all time. Come at me. Crazy Train, certainly an all-time favorite. Is there one that stands out to you, Remo? Is your number one on your own personal Ozzy power poll?
Yeah, I have actually been listening to a bit of Ozzy lately. Put it in the closet for a while. Hadn't listened to it, but because they had that show, a lot of it was coming back. I do prefer the live at Budokan album with Zach Wild. I like Paranoid. I mean, that's a pretty easy one. How about No More Tears? I think that's with the video and just the way the guitar sounds played by Zach Wild. I'll go with No More Tears. That's a good one.
No More Tears is getting some love in the chat. Crazy Train, I think, is the number one choice right now. I'll be honest. I'm a big fan of Bark at the Moon.
I was gonna say KS.
Bark at the Moon, that's maybe sort of more vintage Ozzy. And let's go to our resident music expert, Tristan Rivers Music. Diary of a Madman is my favorite. Cruisers with Me on Bark at the Moon. Jet Oil Tom, like high school memories. So yeah, give us your thoughts on Ozzy and your favorite Ozzy tune. We'll get back to that a little bit later on. Remo, I'm fired up to have Josh Goldberg come on in a few minutes to talk about the Toronto Blue Jays. What a start to the series last night against the New York Yankees, coming off their sweep out of the All-Star break of the Giants. The Jays are just a half game out from the best record in baseball right now. Or actually, I guess a game out because Milwaukee is at 60-40. But this roll just continues to run for the Toronto Blue Jays. And, we're seeing the fans show up. Monday, sellout against the Yankees. I believe this entire series is sold out. The fans are responding to a team that has completely exceeded everyone's expectations at this point of the year.
Yeah, this is crazy. 59-41. You've got a 4-game lead in the AL East on the Yankees. The fans are coming out, 11-game win streak at home. It's incredible to watch. And as you said, the fans are coming out. Bo Bichette saying this is the best crowd we've seen, since I've been here, comparing it to the crowds of 2015 when you had Bautista and had Donaldson. So I think this is very exciting and something we're going to be following because the Blue Jays, they've had a number of disappointing years. They haven't won in the playoffs, and the expectations coming into this year, not very high. And to be where they are, extremely surprising. And now we look ahead to the trade deadline, which is just over a week away. Who are they going to add? What position? An arm, a bat, and this is this came out of nowhere. They went on this heater, and taking over the Yankees last night. Looking forward to tonight's matchup as well. So the Blue Jays right now on our radar.
Listen, they're more than on the radar. I mean, now it kind of feels like, if you are into the Blue Jays and sort of getting caught up on this run that they're on, now that we're going down the stretch post All-Star break, it's kind of appointment viewing right now, and especially this series. Now, I guess the Wednesday game's probably going to be an afternoon game. That usually is the case. I'll double check that right now. But again, tonight, tonight is Max Scherzer on the hill against I believe a rookie. We'll find out more about this Schlittler that's pitching for Schlittler, I should say, that's pitching for the Yankees tonight. The Wednesday game is still 6 p.m. Bassett versus Fried. And there's what's even more impressive about the Jays maybe on the weekend is that they rested a bunch of guys. They didn't play Kirk on Sunday, their number one catcher, against a top team like the Giants. And they were all ready to go for last night. And, my favorite part of the entire game last night, and I'll have to ask Josh about this, Davis Schneider hasn't had a great year. He spent some time in the minors. He's come back up. This is a guy that's not known for his bat. He went toe-to-toe with Rodon last night in the 6th inning, I want to say. and grinded out a 14-pitch at bat. Now, he wasn't able to get on base, but even Rodon afterwards had to just sit back and appreciate what Schneider was able to do in that count and gave him the little hat tip. Great sign of respect from Rodon. But it was the guys like Bo Bichette, who now has the league lead in RBIs, Vladdy Guerrero Jr., and, of course, Alejandro Kirk. That Kirk deal is looking like one of the best in the majors so far. I mean, what did they get him for 4 years right now, Remo? And he just continues to rake. He may look like a hot water tank, but he's got all the tools right now, and he's a big, big part of this. 6 tonight, Yankees and Jays. We will be talking to Josh Goldberg about that coming up in just a few minutes. Hey, listen, before we do that, let's thank our friends over at Rolly's Transfer for their great support of Winnipeg Sports Talk, especially now in this busy moving time. We continue to hear great things from Winnipeg Sports Talk listeners that have used Rolly's for their moving needs. If you have a move coming up, head on over to Rollies.com, click on Request an Estimate, put in the promo code WST for a special discount on moving services and moving supplies, and then let them know when and where you're moving and what needs to go, and the friendly staff at Rollies will turn it around quickly, get you locked in for their white glove service at a great price that Rollies is famous for. For over 60 years, family-owned and operated, Rollies, the most trusted name in the moving game. Hit them up today over at Rollies.com. Hey, our friends at St. Vital Dental Center are having a great summer, and I know the kids are out of school right now and people are spending time out at the lake, but you don't want to put off that trip to Dr. Terry and the dentist longer than you have to. Of course, now's a great time to get in, and if you haven't been at the dentist for a while, our friends at St. Vital Dental Center would love to take care of you. They've been taking care of generations in Winnipeg, and now, of course, have a beautiful new facility at 167 St. Anne's with free parking, conveniently located right behind the building, and a full array of dental services from cleanings and checkups all the way to things like dental implants. You can find out more, make an appointment, stvitaldental.ca. Tell Dr. Terry your boys, Huss and Remo, sent you over there. And hey, great weekend out at Super Spike and at the great Outdoor Comedy Festival. Our friends at Canadian Club were all over all of those events, and the Manitoba Stampede, of course. If you haven't checked out the Canadian Club Club Pack, you know that the CC and Ginger Ale is a classic. Try the new Citrus Smash, which is amazing, and the half and half lemonade iced tea, along with Canada's favorite Canadian whiskey, Canadian Club, all available in the Canadian Club Club Pack right now at your local Manitoba liquor marts, along with the official spirit of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, Canadian Club. Well, as we mentioned, the top story around Canadian sports right now is on the diamond. The Toronto Blue Jays, hot out of the All-Star break. Big win last night against the Yankees as they look to make it 2 in a row for this series tonight. Let's bring in from Blue Jays Nation our pal Josh Goldberg to get the latest on the Bluebirds. Josh, what's up, buddy? How are you?
Good to talk to you, How's it going?
Going great. And I got to tell you, maybe it was the 4-game sweep heading into the All-Star break of the Yankees. Maybe it was just the realization that this team has so far exceeded expectations and the drop-off hasn't happened. There's no choice but to get in. But, oh, my God, what an electric atmosphere last night at the ballpark, really dating back to, and deservedly so, considering what they'd done going into the break, but a really impressive sweep of a very good Giants team on the weekend. And they just picked off where they left off, both in their last series against the Yankees and with the Giants. This team just not losing home anymore, apparently.
No, it seems like they don't. 11 straight at home, franchise record, best home record, most home wins in Major League Baseball. It's crazy. And for the first time in like 3 years, it's a legitimate home field advantage. Like it feels differently. Even if you're watching on TV, the energy comes through the screen. And it just seems like a ball club and a roster that seems to relish the opportunity of playing in front of those home fans. And those home fans, I think, have sensed that and have gravitated towards them. And it's easy when you play a style of baseball that is appealing. And the Blue Jays play an appealing style of baseball. And like last night, they were down 1-0. They couldn't get much going. They had one kind of chance early on and couldn't get anything across. And then all of a sudden, big bang boom, they score 4 runs. They capitalized on some sloppy defense, but still, that's what they've done a lot lately. Is all of a sudden it seems like things maybe are stuck in neutral a little bit, and they find ways to put up 3 or 4 runs in an inning and completely turn a game on its head. And then the bullpen did enough last night, and it's been great to watch. And it's always good when you can stick it to the Yankees. Always, always, always. And they did a good job against Judge last night. Yeah, there was one intentional walk, but he struck out a couple of times. Gosman was really, really good. Like when his fastball is good, his splitter is good, and both were great last night. And there's a lot to like right now. And we talked last week, there was a lot to like then, even at the All-Star break. There's a ton to like right now. You've won 4 straight. The schedule is a little bit tough right now, but the Blue Jays have earned more than the benefit of the doubt that they can handle it.
And, what was also impressive, like just dating back to the weekend, the different ways they won games. And let's face it, they were already, even on Sunday, looking ahead to this Yankee game. And, they made some corresponding roster decisions, rested up some guys to get them ready, and still were able to get the job done. Like, this is not 1 or 2 players that's just carrying this team right now. They really do seem to be getting contributions up and down the lineup, both hitting as well as from the staff.
Yeah, you talk about that. That's a perfect point. Like Saturday, they scored 6 runs, and it was the 7, 8, 9 hitters who drove in all 6. And then on Sunday, they scored 8 runs, and it was the likes of Bichette, Guerrero, and Springer who scored 5, hit a couple of homers, drove in 5 runs. And that's what you're going to need down the stretch and into the playoffs is, your stars have got to be your stars in the most important moments. That's what you pay them for. That's why they're hitting in the premium spots in the lineup. But in order for them to have opportunities with runners on base and runners in scoring position, the bottom third of the lineup has to be a relatively consistent threat to do some damage. And that's been the case in spades this year. Like the bottom part of the lineup is arguably, and honestly not even arguably, a bit better than a lot of the top tier hitters. And that's in order to have like a truly special season, which I think we can all agree this has been so far relative to expectations. You need to have a lot go right. And last year, pretty much everything went wrong for the Blue Jays. This year, everything's gone right. Like they've gotten so many unexpected, legitimate contributions from players who were looked at as bit players at best, or weren't even really expected to be contributors on the roster. You mentioned the staff, like Eric Lauer. Scrap heap pickup, minor league contract, struggled in Korea last year, 2.80 ERA, really good. Ernie Clement's been a legitimate everyday third baseman. He's been versatile. We talked about Barger last week. He's obviously been a huge unexpected contributor, but like Tyler Heineman had a huge day on Sunday. Hit that insurance home run in the 8th inning to really give them some cushion, or Saturday rather. Miles Straw has had moments. Like it's just been, you name it, up and down the roster. There hasn't been a single player on this team that hasn't contributed in some way to the success. And that's what you need to have happen if you're going to have one of these unexpected years where everything up until this point has basically gone according to plan.
There was lots of talk about some of the deals in the offseason. We kind of get to that in a minute, and as far as what they might do at the deadline. But has there been a better piece of business that the Blue Jays have done in a long time than the Alejandro Kirk deal? He's just, I mean, as I said, he looks like a hot water tank with legs, but man, he is able to do it all. He's just such a naturally gifted hitter, and he's turned into a very, very important guy behind the plate as well.
Yeah, awesome player. And it wasn't, I never thought it had the potential to be a disaster deal. I know some people were really wondering why they were so aggressive in getting it done, because he had struggled, relatively speaking, with the bat the last few years. But even if that was the player that he was moving forward, great defensively and just okay, slightly worse than league average at the plate, that's still a relatively valuable player at a premium position like catcher. And Yeah, there's some people would say that the move to the ABS system will take away some of the value of his framing ability, and I do get that because he is one of the best framers in baseball. He seals so many strikes. He's so valuable back there. He's improved in terms of his ability to throw out runners as well. And they were just betting that he would, if he wasn't necessarily going to return to the offensive player he was in 2022 when he was one of the best hitting catchers in the league, they were betting that he would be better than league average, or at the very worst, league average. And he's rewarded that bet so far this year. He's been better than league average. He's been so good with two strikes. He's been so good with runners in scoring position. And I'm always okay with it, even if he doesn't hit for the kind of power that you would like he's not hitting 25 home runs. I'm still always going to buy into a hitter who has elite contact skills, somebody who doesn't really strike out, who makes so much contact, always finds a way to put the bat on the ball. And good things generally happen when you put the bat on the ball. And this whole Blue Jays team kind of buys into that methodology a little bit. Like, they don't strike out much. Kirk really doesn't strike out that much, and they make a ton of contact. They're one of the best contact teams in baseball. And you saw it last night. Like, Davis Schneider had a long
I
at bat.
wanted to bring that up, dude. A 14 pitch at bat, just grinding out, making Rodon work for every inch. And a really cool moment. I mentioned this earlier. At the end, Schneider ended up popping out on the 14th or 15th pitch. And Rodon looked over and gave him the ultimate sign of respect, a little hat tip. And he was getting a lot of love from his teammates in the dugout, despite not getting on base.
Yeah, those are the kinds of things you love to see, is a whole dugout supporting a guy, even though he didn't get on base or have a hit or something like that. Like, that whole approach, it's infectious. If you're battling, you're grinding things out, it puts so much pressure on the opposing pitcher, makes him throw more high stress pitches, and it's probably going to make him more likely to make a mistake. And that's kind of what happened. And in the first game of a 3-game series, and the Yankees used their bullpen pretty heavily over the weekend against Atlanta, to be able to work a quality all-star pitcher like Carlos Rodon for 107 pitches in 5 innings, you never know what could happen. It's not necessarily a guarantee that the bullpen is going to be super taxed. Maybe the starting pitcher tonight does a good job and gets them back on track. But it's a really advantageous position to be in when you knock a pitcher out of that caliber after 5 innings and force an already fatigued bullpen to throw another 3 innings in a relatively close game. So the Blue Jays have done that all season long. They've become a completely different team for a couple of years ago. A couple of years ago, it was like they would strike out, but they would also absolutely destroy the baseball. And they're not a bad home run hitting team by any means this year. Like, they've been fine, but they have gone the complete other way in terms of their contact skills are great, and they don't strike out at all. Like, they're one of the best in terms of avoiding strikeouts in Major League Baseball. And most people would take a little bit of a trade-off. Yeah, you want home runs and you want to lead the league in home runs, but you would probably take a few less if it meant to more contact skills and less strikeouts, and maybe more of an ability to come up with 2 strikes and runners in scoring position and kind of turn things over and have more of these innings where you're stringing hits together and putting more pressure on opposing pitchers. So they're a much more versatile offensive group than they were a couple of years ago. Not necessarily better, just different and more balanced, it feels like, than they have been in a while.
Well, the funny thing, Josh, I mean, we can think back to when the Jays even made the playoffs. I mean, they couldn't score. They could not score a run. They couldn't hit. And so many of these guys are the same guys that were on those teams. And yet now, for the last 2 months, they've been the best hitting team in baseball. They've struck out the least. They've got the most walk licks. They're doing everything right. And it is sort of a stunning turnaround, because it's not like it's all the new guys that have come in and been the catalyst to turn this thing around.
Yeah, it's been, I think it's really hard to put your head around it, like to wrap your head around it. That's why some people, I think, have bought in lock, stock, and barrel to this team, is because it was just so surprising. nobody saw this level of performance from so many guys that you wouldn't have necessarily expected to be key contributors happening simultaneously. Like maybe one or two, but it's been up and down where guys have performed. And like we've talked about the lineup, the bullpen's been huge as well in terms of unlikely contributors. And you need that to have a good bullpen. Like no matter what you want to do, look at the Dodgers. They spent $1 billion in terms of their bullpen, and guys have been hurt and it's struggled. You need the Brendan Littles of the world. You need Yariel Rodriguez to be, instead of a swing man or potentially a starting pitching candidate, to be somebody who can save out a game or pitch in the 8th inning of a 1-run game and have a ERA under 3. There have been other guys. Like it's been the entire roster. It's not just been like we talked about some of the guys on the offensive side of things. It's been in the pitching perspective as well. It's too many to count. And when you have too many unexpected contributors and guys who have punched above their weight, so to speak, in terms of expectations, all on the in the same year, it's going to lead to you being 17, 18 games above 500 in a year when many expected you would be fighting to be 500 or maybe a bit better.
You know what's funny, dude? I was sitting with a friend that's like a Jays hardo last night watching the game, and he's rattling off, comparing the team to 3 years ago and a bunch of things, and we got talking about Atkins and Shapiro.
Yeah,
and I'm like, okay, well, you know what, these guys, it's very important for them to be aggressive at the deadline. I mean, they do have to win. The team's they've earned that confidence. I think that this is a year to make that sort of a move. He agreed, and then he goes, well, let's just think about all their off-season moves. And you would think that, okay, well, they've had this great turnaround. These are the moves that have been making the difference. The team took off when Santander came out of the lineup, and he did almost nothing for the first part of the season.
Yeah.
Jimenez is running around the Mendoza line. Great defensive player, but there's just not a lot of offense. But it might be the pitching ads. You mentioned Yariel Rodriguez. Hoffman was phenomenal last night. In your opinion, when you look back to last offseason, how much is the success of the Blue Jays with what they did in the summer, and how much of it is just getting far better performances from guys that are coming off slow years by their standards?
Yeah, in terms of their splashiest offseason additions, it's mostly been not very good. You mentioned Santander was hurt and terrible. Jimenez has been hurt twice and hasn't really been able to hit. Hoffman's been fine. The great, like last night you mentioned, dominant, but when he's been bad, it's been pretty ugly. It's still been more good than bad. Like he's still among the league leaders in saves, and he's only, I think, blown 4 saves. It's not been a disaster, but beyond that, a lot of Max Scherzer barely was a factor the first few months of the season. Those were the guys that they really spent the most money on, and they really haven't done much. But you look at some of the moves that maybe took longer, like they traded Kevin Biggio for Braden Fisher, who's been a real money man in the bullpen for the most part. And that didn't happen in the offseason. It was like a scrap heap trade a year ago, I guess, with the Dodgers. And it's paid dividends. And it's been kind of a longer picture view of things where some of the moves, like they picked up Brendan Little for cash considerations. Now he's become their prize lefty out of the bullpen. The Miles Straw trade or whatever it was to take on that money, everyone was like, oh, well, it's going to just clear up some bonus room so they can make a move for Roki Sasaki. He's been hurt and terrible. Miles Straw hasn't been great, but he's had some moments. Like he had a moment last night, had a single in a big spot, has been good defensively. Yes, like it hasn't been a home run of a trade, but everyone was like, oh, what are these guys doing taking that on? And they didn't even get Sasaki. And Miles Straw has actually had more positive moments this year than Roki Sasaki has for the Dodgers. So it's been a mixed bag. You could really say that for the most part about the entire tenure. Like there's been plenty of good. There's been plenty of bad as well. And this is an opportunity here. The deadline is 9 days away. You got to make, this is the signature spot here. You can't let this kind of found money situation with this season, the way that it's unfolded, pass you by. Like, you have to be hyper aggressive in terms of trying to make this team better. And I expect that they will, but the pressure is on. Like, the pressure is big time on to improve this roster in a meaningful way.
Well, I mean, I know we touched on this a little bit last week, but as we, each day we get closer to the deadline, we hear more about players that are available and potential targets. What's number one priority, Josh? But in total, I mean, how many ads do you think this team would like to make if things go their way?
I think 3 for sure. I think the injury to Santander maybe increases the need to add another bat. I just don't know how much they're going to be shopping like in the premium meats and cheeses aisle in terms of that. But for me, it's still pitching. I know that the starting rotation, it's been fine for the most part. The ERA leaves a little something to be desired, but none of those 5 guys you look at, if they're healthy and you say you don't feel decent about having a chance to win, I just think you'd like a little more impact. And you definitely need, to me, another legitimate reliever who can get outs in big spots. I don't know how much you can realistically expect from Garcia the rest of the season. Elbow issue is always a concern, so I wouldn't necessarily be expecting much. And I just would want more depth, somebody to potentially take some pressure off of Hoffman. If any of the guys we talked about falter down the stretch, you have another proven option. That would probably be the area of need by a hair over the rotation. But I expect that they'll add a bullpen arm. They'll add a starting pitcher of some caliber. Maybe it's not to the degree that everyone hopes. And I do think that they will also add a bat who can, whether it's come off the bench, play a couple of times a week, somebody that can give them another option, and ideally somebody who has a little bit of power potential as well that can replace the theoretical power upside that you were hoping Santander would bring.
Talking Jays with Josh Goldberg ahead of Game 2 of their series against the New York Yankees tonight at a sold-out Rogers Center in downtown Toronto. Josh, I'm looking at Coolbet right now.
Okay.
The Yankees are still the favorite to win the AL East, but this gap is close. They're even money. The Jays are plus 120, and then a big gap down to the Red Sox at 9-1. In your opinion, how realistic is hanging on at this point? I mean, especially after that win last night, you've got to be thinking division. And let me go one step further. Thoughts on, I mean, this team is one game out of first place overall in the entire major leagues. That's the Milwaukee Brewers, who won 11 in a row. They're 60-40. How realistic is it to finish not only winning the division, but in the top 2 and avoiding the wild card round entirely for the Blue Jays? And considering their issues in the wild card round, how big of a boost would that be to a team that moves right on into that second round?
Yeah, the best of 5 having the cushion would be great. And I think there's a chance, like, the Tigers have kind of slumped a little bit. And assuming, let's say the Jays win one of the final 2 games here at least and head into Detroit, and that could be a sneaky, massive series for potential top 2 records, best record in the American League. You look at, it's probably a group of Detroit, Houston, and then the American League East, whether it's the Blue Jays or Yankees. I don't see the Red Sox really in the mix to win the division. Maybe they're in the mix more so for a wild card spot. So you're looking at 4 teams to get those 2 bye spots, I guess. I think that the Jays have a chance. It's the height of disrespect that they're still plus money to win the division with a 4-game lead. Like, if the Yankees were 4 games up right now, what would they be, minus 500 to win the division? Like, I get it. There's run differential stuff. Maybe the odds makers look at the Jays roster and say, well, come on, there's no way that this team can hold off the big bad Yankees. It doesn't really make a ton of sense to me. Like, I would be grabbing that. I still think that it's way more likely than not that the Jays win the division, even if they give something back, which you would have to assume. I think they've won like 14 of 17, 15 of 18, whatever it is. They've been on an insane heater for months now. But that also assumes that the Yankees are just going to suddenly figure things out. And the Yankees are a flawed team. Like, it's a flawed roster. There are plenty of issues. I'm sure they'll get better at the deadline, but just because you might bake in some regression for the Blue Jays doesn't necessarily mean that progression or improvement is guaranteed for the Yankees. So I like the Jays with a 4-game cushion atop the division at plus money to win the division. What am I missing?
Yeah, no kidding. And I mean, we've got as of right now, they are in. I mean, they're a half game back of the Tigers.
Yeah.
Tigers are 60-41. Jays are 59-41. And they're a game up on the Astros, who are leading the West at 58-42. And here's something else to chew on. They're doing it by beating really good teams. Like, that's Giants team that came in and got swept on the weekend is no joke. And certainly the New York Yankees are one of the measuring sticks in the AL. And they just finished a first time in franchise history, sweeping them in a 4-game series at home and have been off to a great start. So I'm sort of with you, though. This weekend coming up against the Tigers, I mean, I kind of thought these first 10 games out of the break would be a real litmus test for the Blue Jays. And the fact that they've started it off with 4 straight wins, I think can only increase your level of confidence of what this team is capable of.
Yeah, 100%. And like we talked about it, hey, you lick your wounds a little bit, you lose 3 out of 4 before the All-Star break. Stuff happens. How long can you sustain that heater for? And to me, the hallmark of a good team is after a couple of days off, you immediately hit the ground running. And like the Blue Jays haven't had any, there have been no gimmies here. Justin Verlander's older and he's not what he once was, but it's still Justin Verlander. Then Logan Webb has been among the most dependable pitchers in baseball. Robbie Ray has been as good as he's been since he won the Cy Young 4 years ago. And then Carlos Rodon was an all-star. Like, it hasn't been guys that you've never heard of or spot starters or bullpen days or anything like that. It's been full marks for the Blue Jays doing damage against high quality arms. And that's what you're going to see in October. If and when you get there, you're going to have to get to pitchers of this caliber. And it's heartening and encouraging that we're seeing that they're more than capable of having good at bats and putting together positive performances against some of the best pitchers in the league.
Our pal Jake Bolin Moss, JBM's in the chat and just dropped. They have been waiting for the Jays to falter for 2 months, and they just refuse to stop winning. No complaints. It does seem from afar that there's a lot of people, like a lot of longtime fans, like, I'm not getting my hopes up for the first couple months. You know, we'll see what's happening. Now it seems like everybody's all in. I mean, you follow this team as closely as anyone, Josh. How would you compare the excitement of the fan base right now, the vibe in the building, to really the last 10 years?
It's as hyped up as it's been in, I would argue, since 2015. Like 2016, you had that equity built up from 2015. But that team, it was tough sledding. Like, they grinded. It was not as dominant of a team. It was mostly on the back of a rotation that was as dependable as any in the league that year. And then 2021 might have been on par because of how explosive they were offensively. But we were pretty much right in the middle of COVID. And I think that by the end of the season, maybe there was as many as 10,000 fans allowed in the building, something like that. It was when they first returned to Toronto after starting the year in Buffalo and Dunedin. So it wasn't quite the same. 2022, 2023, like, to an extent, but I think that this team has just been so unexpectedly exciting that it's gotten even the most pessimistic. Like, my dad, for example, is not necessarily always like sunshine and lollipops when it comes to the teams that he follows. And he's always watching, he's always consuming content related to the Blue Jays. And that's, like, to me, a good litmus test. Like, and casual fans who I don't always hear from are like, man, what's going on with the Blue Jays? Why are they so good this year? I thought everyone thought they were going to suck. And that's what we're getting now. And you're getting, tickets are harder to come by. Tickets are legitimate. It's a great outing now to go to a ball game of a team that's in first place and playing a particularly exciting brand of baseball. So to me, relative to the expectations, it's easily the most excited everyone has been and the most energy there's been in the city around the team since 2015.
Well, and you know what? I think that's a great thing for fans as well to see happen, because the bottom line is, I mean, Rogers, you can say lots of things about Rogers. They keep a pretty close tab on the bottom line. They're in a business to make money. They've done all this work on the ballpark. Oh, and they're winning games and it's actually full. And I haven't seen recently, I don't know whether you have, I would be willing to bet that viewership numbers on Sportsnet for Jays games has been going up like a rocket throughout this season. And I imagine this series right now will probably be hitting highs for the entire year. So when you get that sort of results, it begats you to continue to invest and try and be a competitive team that a lot of people didn't think was going to happen. So I think it's a good situation for the Jays, for people that want to see this continue, want to see them be aggressive, want to see them spend money in the offseason. The fact that the fans are responding the way they are to what this team has done this season, I think is a clear message to management that they want more of this.
100%. And also beyond that, I would hope and think that this would appeal to players. And like the Jays, it hasn't been for a lack of trying in terms of spending money and trying to shop where the big boys shop for free agents, and for a variety of different reasons. They've, like, obviously he hasn't had the year, but I think also signing Vladimir Guerrero Jr. also helps in that regard. That sends a message to marquee free agents that you're serious about paying players, and look at the atmosphere that these guys are playing in. You've got the entire country in a lot of respects flocking in the summer. Everyone wants to be there. The dome is open. It's a beautiful night. The crowd, there's a buzz, everything that appeals to players as much as it also appeals to fans. So there's a lot of goodwill that's being built up right now. And yeah, it behooves the front office and ownership to continue to invest, because this is what you can get. If you're a year in, year out powerhouse, let's call it, you're going to be among the attendance leaders. Your revenue is going to be great. And like the Dodgers, like the Yankees, you can reinvest that into the team in every different avenue, prospects, trades, free agents, whatever it is, and continually have a consistent product that is among the best in baseball. So there's a lot to like, but you got to just continue investing to ensure that it continues for the foreseeable future.
Everyone looking ahead to just after 6 p.m. Winnipeg time when Game 2 of this series tips off. Scherzer on the hill for the Blue Jays. Fill us in on this guy on the bump for the Yankees, and anything else that you think might be noteworthy about Game 2 of the series, Josh.
I think he's like in their top 10 of prospects, not by any means like an overpowering arm or anything, certainly gettable. And you would say, like, while they had Carlos Rodon last night, they got to him. They should be able to get to this young guy who's only made a handful of appearances. Baseball is crazy. You never know what could happen. The old adage is you're only as good as that day's starting pitcher. And maybe this Schlittler guy comes out and deals. But I would be betting with the Blue Jays right now. Like they're riding the wave too much for me to abandon them. So like this is a good matchup for them. And with Max Fried tomorrow, you'd love to get it. But even if you don't, they've proven that they're more than capable of getting to Max Fried. They did the last time they saw him. So I can't remember that the last time I've been as confident in the Blue Jays as I am these days.
Well, we'll revisit that when we do our Cool Bet lines and some picks for tonight a little bit later on. Dude, always love having you on the program. And let's face it, it's a lot of fun to talk Blue Jays right now. Enjoy the game tonight. We'll do this again soon. Yeah, we got the deadline next week. I'm sure we'll be talking again soon. Appreciate it. Book that, my friend. There's Josh Goldberg. You can give him a follow on X at jgoldberg12 and check out his work at the Jays Nation. All right, Wieber's on deck. He's ready to go. Huge shout out to our friends at Princess Auto for the great support of Winnipeg Sports Talk. And of course, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Next time we're at Princess Auto Stadium, Friday, August 1st. But the next time you're going to be at Princess Auto could be today. And you'll, of course, find the best deals on the most unique assortment of tools and equipment around. Everything you need to complete the projects on your list or start something new. Waiting for you at Princess Auto. Visit them, Panet Road, Portage Avenue West, Brandon, for our friends out in Westman. And you can always shop online 24/7, 365 over at princessauto.com. Donnie and our friends at Manitoba Battery are making the most of this beautiful weather this summer. And that's a great news for Winnipeggers and WSTers that have saved big money with the best in batteries for their boats, their campers, their ATVs, all the summer fun getting powered out of Manitoba Battery. And as Donnie says, wake up Winnipeg, stop overpaying for batteries, and save up to $60 per battery with Manitoba Battery, where you'll be shopping local. You will get the best prices in town, period, beating the pants off the big box stores. And don't forget their amazing customer service as well. You can see them in store, Logan Avenue, Dovercourt Drive. Give them a call or order online, and Manitoba Battery will deliver those batteries to you for free anywhere inside the perimeter with any purchase over $60. For all your battery needs, keep it local and get the best prices in town at Manitoba Battery. And hey, wedding season in full effect right now. And of course, fall just around the corner. Not that we want to think about it. Guys, if you need to step up your menswear game, head on down to F Apparel for the best in custom men's suits starting at $400. Chinos, golf pants, custom shirts, both tucked and untucked styles, and the best selection of menswear accessories around. If you are in a wedding party or getting married, make sure to talk to the fellas at F about a special discount for the wedding party when the fellas get their suits for the big day at F Apparel. Pop by and see them in store. Beautiful new showroom, 190 Smith Street, downtown. Or check them out online at that's EPHapparel.com. You can make an appointment to come in for a fitting there as well. All right, let's welcome in Ken Wiebe from the Winnipeg Free Press. Kenny, I know you caught the end of our conversation with Josh Goldberg. How about those Jays lately? Man, they're fun to watch.
Yes, Huss, great to be with you, my friend. Excited to be saying and reporting I'll be in the building on Wednesday for the game itself. So excited for that. Yes, off to Toronto this evening.
Early morning flight tomorrow or later this evening?
Yes, sir. Yeah, unfortunately not going to see Mad Max and the young prospect, but Bassett versus Max Fried tomorrow at the Dome. The weather was not looking overly great during the week, but the forecast has improved, sounding like should be getting an open dome, as Josh just referenced there. So pretty fired up about it.
All pleasure, business pleasure. You're just going out for some games.
Hopefully all pleasure, Huss. It's a good lineup. It's the prototypical Jock Plus lineup. We have Jays and Yankees. We've got Our Lady Peace at the outdoor show on Thursday, reliving our 90s youth, Huss. And Friday, Back to the Future, the musical. So touching a lot of bases here. And,
Back to the Future? There's a musical of Back to the Future?
Indeed.
Can you sing 88 miles per hour for us, Ken?
I don't know that I can, but maybe after this weekend I might be able to. Huss. We'll see about that for next week's show. But yeah, it should be fun. Sammy Cosentino saw it in New York a couple of years ago and gave it a 2 thumbs up, so we're going to give her a shot. Check her out. We've seen a couple of musicals out at...
2 scarves up for
yeah,
Sam.
2 scarves up, yes. So it should be fun. We've seen Hamilton and Come From Away in Toronto at the Royal Alexander Theatre, so going to add to the list here. So
never knew you were so cultured. This is interesting.
Oh, buddy.
Well, I'm looking forward to report next week when you're back. Listen, let's get to Jets news, and right off the hop, so I don't know, maybe you could tell us what the story was with not making the arbitration dates public this year, which was a little strange. Sounds like the Puck Media people and whoever has found it. Next Wednesday, Dylan Sandberg, July 30th, and that is the final one for the Winnipeg Jets. We'll get to the Gabe Vilardi in a minute, but right. What are you hearing the latest on Dylan Sandberg? You think this goes right till next week, or is this just a little bit of clarity as to when they have to have it done by, and we might get news sooner as opposed to later?
Yeah, I mean, as usual, the negotiations are being kept pretty quiet on both sides there, but yeah, I mean, now we have... they have a deadline, Huss, so I would imagine that means a deal gets done before next Wednesday. I don't know that it goes to the wire, but I do think it. I don't know that I'm not hearing anything is imminent, but I'm also not hearing a whole lot as it is. But what we are hearing is that it's just a normal step in the procedure, and whether it was going to be August 15th or July 30th, I don't think that makes much difference. We know that Dylan Sandberg has an appetite to be a Winnipeg Jet for the long term, and the Jets want to get him signed on a long-term deal. So now it's just smoothing out the numbers on terms of term and AAV, and I would expect that a deal gets done. I'm not sure if it's this week or early next week, but let's just put it this way. I'll be shocked if it goes to a hearing.
Well, that would be terrible news for the Jets if it went to a hearing, because then we're talking about a 1 or 2 year deal. And
Well, it can only be a 1 year deal for him.
it's only
away.
one. There's no option.
1 year
team?
away. He's 1 year away from UFA status. So
I gotcha. So
again, that's why it'll get done before that, I expect.
Well, hey, and I'll put this to the chat. This is your opportunity to come back and check out the July 22nd edition of WST, where you put into the chat your prediction for what the Dylan Samberg contract will be. I want years and I want AAV. Ken, I will throw mine out, and
Okay.
I am going to say 7 years, $6 million.
Okay, I'll take the over. I'll say 7 times 6.2.
Okay.
Price is Right rules, but we're in the ballpark. Could get to 6.25, but I'm going to go 6.2 right now.
I did think about guessing just the straight up Morrissey deal, the 8 by 6.25. I mean, you could obviously get a little bit more
given his
if you
age.
go and do that. And I put it this way: I think the Jets would be fine with an 8-year deal. I think obviously Samberg wants to get a nice raise and is fine with having some UFA years bought up if it means you get that security right off the bat. But we're sort of on the same wavelength in here, in and around a 7-year deal at probably upwards of $6 million.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if it comes in at 5.95, I won't be shocked either. But I do think it's going to reach 6, and I just think that again, both sides know the value and where things are trending. We've used the term slave and light for quite some time, and yes, of course, Samberg has to stack a bunch more years in order to get into that slave and conversation. But he's already on the periphery of the conversation, Huss, and he plays the type of robust type of game that all teams are looking for. I mean, we saw Jacob Slavin play the role of the human eraser at the Four Nations face-off this year, and I think that is the kind of job that Dylan Samberg is going to be. He's already growing into that job, and I don't know that he's far away from, really putting himself not just in the discussion, but, alongside of Slavin. It's going to be maybe it's 2 years, whatever it is. But I do think that, by the time we get to, let's just put it this way, if it's not at the next World Cup, I'll use that as a barometer. I'm going to say by the next World Cup, we're going to be talking about Dylan Samberg in a similar vein.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of competition on that U.S. blue line. And I think sometimes for a guy playing in Winnipeg that wasn't, a first rounder, that didn't have the big pedigree coming into the league, there's, you have to get on a lot of people's radars, and it might be a little bit more difficult, but it's pretty clear that people in the know, throughout the National Hockey League are aware of the emergence of Samberg. And once you get under the hood, and Connor's done a great job of this with some of his breakdowns with Liz on WST Sunday Live. Once you get under the hood, while the offensive production hasn't really been there, I do think there's a potential for it to significantly go up. But everything else he does helps you win hockey games, and that's what I think the Winnipeg Jets are more than willing to pay for.
Yeah, and the other thing about it too, Huss, when it comes to international competition, Dylan Samberg is a USA hockey guy. We talked about this around Four Nations when Kyle Connor was a healthy scratch when he shouldn't have been. He wasn't a USA hockey guy, whereas Samberg is a guy who played at the World Junior and has that pedigree on that side. And yes, we know that things are run differently at the NHL level, but there's still influence from USA hockey. So that's why I say that Samberg is going to be, I think he's definitely going to be on the next World Cup team. And I do think he's going to warrant consideration and should be on the US Olympic team coming up here. Especially with the expanded rosters, it will give him a chance to be more on the radar. But as you mentioned, we've dug into this a ton, Huss. When Samberg left the Jets lineup after blocking that slap shot from Steven Stamkos, the Jets' record without Dylan Samberg is very obvious. It was poor. All things considered, in an excellent season. And I'm not saying it's just one player making all the difference and the Jets couldn't survive without him, but it was a lot more difficult without Dylan Samberg in the lineup than it was with him in the lineup. And here's the thing, Huss. That's his first year playing top 4 minutes. This guy's going to be getting better. And then I'm guessing also, too, with the security of a long-term deal, the beauty for someone like Samberg, Huss, who's going to get a raise, he's not going to be changing his game to try to justify the contract. he knows exactly why the Jets are going to be paying him, to your entire point here. He is paid to be a human eraser. And also Dylan has some puck skills and has increased his offensive production, but it's not like Sandberg needs to have the Jacob Trouba season where he's going north of 50 points here. That's not his job. His job is the shutdown role, penalty killing specialist, and shutting down the opposition's, best at whenever he can. So the beauty for him is he's not going to think in his mind, I got to have 40 points now because I'm making, $5+ or $6+ million. So, again, there's always going to be internal pressure those guys put on themselves, but I don't see that pressure kind of limiting his ascension here to becoming an even better shutdown defenseman.
Ken Wiebe's with us here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. You mentioned those USA hockey guys. Yep. Sandberg was one. Kyle Connor, not so much. That being said, was still on the team. Still can't believe he didn't play in that final game, but we don't need to relitigate that. However, as soon as this Sandberg contract gets done, the next thing that everyone will be talking about is the future of Kyle Connor. Let us take the temperature right now on the Connor situation. Do you believe something gets done before training camp, in training camp, or might this be something that is a story once the puck drops that he's on an expiring deal and does not have an extension?
Yeah, Huss, for me, it's interesting, right? We got to follow the history and the trajectory, right? So the last time Kyle Connor needed a contract, he missed training camp. Same with Patrick Laine. Those guys missed basically, I think their signings were announced on the Friday of the last exhibition game or whatever it was, or maybe there was an exhibition game Saturday and neither one of them played. So that isn't the case this time. He has a contract, so it's not going to be a scenario where the player is not reporting for duty. So how does that change the dynamic of the negotiation? It's a great question. Rich Evans has done a great job for Kyle Connor. I expect he's going to get him the best possible deal out there. But in terms of the timeline, I don't know what he's feeling in terms of pressure points. And Kyle's, again, I'm gonna use this as an example. People won't like the example because of how the other example ended up, but I'm gonna say it's similar to Jacob Trouba in the sense that Kyle Connor is the king of compartmentalization. If this goes into the start of the season, I don't see Kyle Connor being affected by it whatsoever. His agent will be handling the negotiation, and he'll be dealing with Kevin Cheveldayoff. He's not going to be thinking, oh my God, I got to score 50 or I'm not going to get paid this year. That's just not going to enter the equation for me in terms of viewing how Kyle will handle the scenario. He focuses on the task at hand all the time. He doesn't sweat the small stuff, but also doesn't mean that he doesn't care about everything else. He just doesn't get bogged down by the minutia and some of the other things and outside noise. That just hasn't been how he's handled his business since he's come to the NHL. So would he prefer to have it done before training camp is over? Of course he would. Any player that's getting to the type of payday that Kyle Connor is on the verge of would probably like to have it all sorted out. And I think there's lots of time to get it sorted out. But again, I don't know the line in the sand, or I don't know his, what the ask is versus what he'd accept and what the Jets are willing to pay versus, how far they're willing to bridge the gap, or maybe they have to go beyond what they want to pay. You just had Josh on. Is this a Vladdy type of situation? People thought that after spring training was over, there were going to be no negotiations. And then, 6 weeks later, he signed a $500 million deal. So I don't think there's going to be any arbitrary deadlines put up by either side, especially on the player side. I mentioned the David Pastrnak reference before, Huss. Pasta signed in March. I don't think the Jets wanted to drag on that long, and I don't think Kyle Connor would want to either. I think that, based on what's happened with Vilardi and what we expect to happen with Sandberg, I think in order, the summer of Chevy, for lack of a better term, and to borrow an old phrase from a few years ago, I think it's going to be more complete if you also get, Sandberg long-term, Connor long-term, and Lowry long-term. Then he basically hit a lot of high notes for this offseason. I think that is the goal, both for Kevin Cheveldayoff and the entire management team, to get to that point. Now, if it's going to happen in the offseason, I can't guarantee that, Huss. I would expect that it still remains a priority. But I do think that all three of those things still to come will be coming. Again, I think Lowry one is maybe a little bit easier, and especially the timeline is a little bit shifting now, maybe with Lowry not starting the season. But I do think that they want to get those two guys locked in sooner than later. And I think they will do that.
Yeah. In your opinion, how late can this go in season before the Winnipeg Jets have to talk about the other alternative, which is not something that I think that they want to do, but at what point does a trade become possible if there is not a deal signed at the start of the season?
Well, Huss, that's a lot of hypotheticals, and I know where you're going. I think your thinking is that if you're the Jets, you can't afford to lose Ehlers and Kyle Connor in consecutive off seasons. Now, for a team that's in a win now window, the priority is to win, and it's a lot easier to win with Kyle Connor than without Kyle Connor. But I don't think it gets to that point, Huss. I mean, I don't know that there's a line of demarcation outside of the trade deadline, and even then, it would depend on how the Jets are playing. I mean, the only way I would see Kyle Connor being moved if there's no extension is if the Jets are a non-playoff team and a non-competitive team, and I just don't see that being the case. So I expect it's. But
so you think there is a possibility that the Jets would roll through the deadline, play it out, and potentially lose him for nothing?
Yeah, I mean, we have to consider that a possibility. We just saw it happen. So I would say maybe it's a smaller chance than last year, but the same thing will apply unless you're completely confident you cannot sign him, right? That would be the other way that he could be moved prior to the deadline. But I just don't see that being I don't see it stretching on that long. And I don't see that being something where Kyle Connor is set on spending his other years somewhere else. I just don't see it. Now, it's a possibility, of course, and he would have many suitors if it gets to that point. But I think that much like the words we heard from Gabe Vilardi, Kyle Connor has even more sweat equity invested in this whole process. So I think he wants to get his name on a Stanley Cup with the Winnipeg Jets, and I think he's going to make that happen with his actions will speak those words. But again, I'm not speaking for him. I'm just trying to put myself in his headspace, and having covered him since he was drafted and having gone to see him at Yost when he was lighting it up as a freshman with the Michigan Wolverines, I think that it does matter to him. I mean, of course, there's always been some appeal to play for the Red Wings as a Michigan guy. But I think that what he's invested in, the player that he's become with the team that's believed in him, I think that you're going to see that reflected in a next deal. And I'm not saying that is going to be reflected in a hometown discount, but I do think that he's going to be the next guy to lock in long term here.
Well, it'll be
after Sandberg. Sorry,
it'll be a record-breaking contract as well. I mean, I think we can take that one to the bank. It's going to be 8 figures, and it will be. I mean, I would imagine the Winnipeg Jets are going to try to lock him up long term. I mean, at his age, this is not really the time where you're taking a 2 or a 3 year deal. It's sort of this is the big one moving forward, and that will be taking care of the majority of the rest of his career. And it will be costly to the Winnipeg Jets, but he's such an important asset. And I'm not suggesting that I've heard anything at all. Things are going off the side, but he's in a very, very good position, knowing how important he is to this team. I mean, what he's done offensively, which is really where you get paid right now. And I would love to see this get done before training camp, because now I know they went last year and Ehlers said, I'm going to talk about this afterwards. And, it went through and we all know how that ended up. I will definitely make the argument that the Jets can't afford to have that happen again this year. And, with Kyle Connor at the end of the season. And if they did get to that point where they didn't think that they were going to be able to sign him, might be better to figure that out sooner as opposed to later and maximize the value for the asset. But clearly plan A, Ken, is to get something done long-term. And we'll be talking about 81 as a Jet for the vast majority, if not his entire NHL time.
Sure, Hassan. I mean, the other part too is that, I would not argue, but I would say that Nikolai Ehlers held up his end of the bargain. It was not a distraction. I mean, this was not something that was talked about on a daily basis, and it's not something that caused a lot of, ruckus or uproar or impacted his play or the team's play or anything of that magnitude. So, I mean, of course, the preferred method and outcome for the Jets and their fan base would be that Kyle Connor signs tomorrow. But I mean, I think that they also have a playbook on how to handle these things. And again, I don't see it being something that is going to derail the Jets season or derail Kyle's season. I think that he's going to get I just put it this way. I think they'll know what it's going to cost well before the deadline. And I don't think that both sides are going to have this awkward standstill or a standoff and say, well, we have no choice but to move you now. I just don't see it getting to that point.
Well, good. I hope you're right, my friend. And I hope that maybe I'll be at a Target produce section somewhere in and around Thanksgiving, coming back from an NFL game. We can do another very popular
emergency podcast,
emergency reaction to the deal. It'll be tough to beat the Scheifele Hellebuck ones, but we will do our best. Man, that was a great availability with Gabe Vilardi yesterday. We played a bunch of the clips and talked about it afterwards. And listen, it's just as a Winnipegger, I mean, you love to hear those sort of things that he had to say. And I'll be honest, I mean, committing to the Jets for 6 years at that number, it's a great bit of business for him. It certainly gets him the security that he needs. But based on what he's done when he's been in the lineup, assuming that he'll be able to stay in that lineup, I mean, I think his production speaks for itself and certainly worthy of the number that he got for the Jets.
For sure, Hassan. I mean, we talked about this last week, and I think we said it was going to be around 7.5. That was what we thought, north of 7. I mean, 6 years I thought was a smart term by both sides. And yeah, to your point, I mean, you often talk about Hellebuck and his avails. To me, Gabe Vilardi is in a similar vein. Like,
he's number 2 on the power poll.
Yes. I would even say he may be number 1 because he has more availabilities than Hellebuck. But anyways, that's not an issue either. But either way, Gabe Vilardi, the combination of like blunt force trauma versus no filter. If he doesn't like a question, I love that he there's playful banter, but there's also pointed return questions. I just find he's Dos Equis. Like, he's the most fascinating guy around because you're trying to wrap your head around how to ask a question that he's going to be interested in answering us. So I enjoy it's not sparring, but I enjoy the engagement. So to me, I think that having a guy like Vilardi around is going to be great for this group of people that he's been around. His commitment level to the Jets is obviously unparalleled. I mean, he's a guy who's loved it here. Being from Kingston, he has been able to connect with the community. But I also love that he's sharing the outside view of, the perception that's trying to be changed. Like, for people who don't know what it's like to get out in the community and see the restaurants and River Heights and everything else. I mean, so I liked all of that. I liked what I heard. He's an interesting, fascinating character. And Huss, in terms of production, we've said this before. Gabe is just scratching the surface in terms of his ability to impact a hockey game. 27 goals, 61 points in 71 games were all impressive. But it also included a cold spell, and it included one injury that kind of I wouldn't say derailed him, but it definitely impacted his playoff production. And Gabe is not the kind of guy that is going to be content now that he signed a 6-year ticket, Huss. He wants to continue to establish himself as not only a first-line player, but a very good first-line player, a productive first-line player, and, a guy that's arguably on one of the best top lines in the NHL. So I know he didn't want to put numbers on it, but I definitely see him as a 35 to 40-plus goal guy, and someone that can put up 75 plus points. And I don't think that that's an unreasonable expectation at some point if he's able to stay healthy and play 82 games. Like, this is a guy who's going to be a cornerstone piece of this franchise.
Yeah, and he's bought in. We get 6 more years of Meg TikToks, which is going to be very popular amongst the fans. And as we said yesterday, her latest was she was holding up 2 of his game-worn jerseys saying, I'm going to sell these to get front row tickets to Justin Bieber. Well, the contract came just in time. Just in time. Probably don't have to put those on the market and can be able to go and make happen. Ken, other than these signings that we've been talking about, is there any other thing that you think might be on the radar for Kevin Cheveldayoff and the Jets as potential, whether it be a depth add, another free agent, a PTO, or a potential deal, depending on what is available once they have their salary cap clarity Or you think this is pretty much going to be, as long as you get these guys back in, they'll be working on Kyle Connor, get to camp and get going?
Yeah, I don't see a ton. I mean, could there be, maybe there's a PTO kind of idea, Huss, but I mean, I did my projected roster. Murat's done his. I mean, I don't see a lot of holes. I mean, I know people are saying, oh, you gotta bring in another guy. I don't see where the holes are in the lineup for the Jets. There's definitely competition for spots, but I mean, they go 6 or 7 lines deep already. So if you want to have the combination of allowing guys like Brad Lambert, Nikita Chibrikov, and guys like that to have a chance at competing for a spot, you're not going to backlog some of the other openings or positions. I just don't see that being a priority. Now, if one phone call comes and there's someone else that they can get in at a reasonable price, sure, go out and trade for somebody else. But I think that although some people aren't 100% sold, I do think that their top 6 or middle 6, whatever you want to call it, is pretty set. We know their top line is set. And there's lots of, there's not a lot of openings on the fourth line either. So there still could be maneuvers around the fringes. We've talked about it every week. Hanela, Stanley, we're not sure what's going to happen there. But I mean, outside of, sort of stuff around the edges, I don't see there being a blockbuster that brings in a middle 6 guy to play on the second line right wing.
Hey, just quick last one for you. And I've hit this up with Murat and with Mike. As of right now, just thoughts on the upcoming season. Who do you think gets more games with the Jets in the NHL this year, Lambert or Chibrikov?
Oh, it's a great question. I'm going to say Lambert now, but I mean, I wouldn't be taking a large sum over to cool bet on that. But I would just think that he's more settled into having a chance to have that impact. And Huss, the reason why I say that is because of the speed element that we talked about last week. For a team that has had speed exit with Nikolai Ehlers and Brandon Tanev and Mason Appleton and Rasmus Kapari, Brad is a burner. Nikita Chibrikov is a guy who plays with a lot of fire, a little bit of vigor, but he's not a burner. So to me, the chances for Lambert would be a little bit higher to have more games this year. Now, maybe both of them work their way into the equation, but for me, I'm gonna ride with Lambert for right. I'm gonna ride with the Lamborghini for right now, Huss. But know that there's obviously competition for him. But it's a big opportunity for him to maybe win the job out of training camp is how I sort of see that right now. And especially, like I said, I've said this earlier, Chibrikov coming back from an injury, that's a factor here. If he was healthy, maybe it's even odds. But to me right now, Lambert has the best chance of playing the most games there. So, and Sergio Castillo is going to be out there photographing all of the madness once his season is over.
Well, exactly. 58-yard bomb on Friday. Sergio is going to join us next. Listen, travel safely and enjoy that game tomorrow. I'm jealous. Fire up to a few picks on the old X.
Yep, sounds good. Should be a great week in Toronto here. And if I'd planned things better, I would have stayed for Saturday night in Toronto. As we know, there's a bit of a football game happening at it's still called BMO.
Geez, how would you have ever known
sure.
that was happening on Saturday when you were making your travel plans? It's not like the schedule isn't readily available at your fingertips at any time.
I think I might have booked it before, but you can throw the shade my way. I can handle it. And Huss, happy to report the tour is in full swing here. Had a great weekend at Clear Lake for a buddy's 50th, and recorded the first eagle of the season yesterday on Mackenzie number 3 at St. Charles.
Like a chip in or
no, with wind. It's a 272-yard par 3, a high draw, hit it to 10 feet and rolled it home, Huss. So it was
par 4. You mean
par 4? Sorry, yes, par 4.
Wow.
Yeah, buddy. Let's go.
Driving the green, just Kenny's been hitting.
It was rare. It was wind aided, but it was quite a highlight.
They don't put the wind on the scorecard, Ken.
The double circle, Huss. The double circle is impressive. Hang on. Just because we're already here, the double circle on number 3. The double circle is very rare.
That is nice. What did you end up shooting?
Yeah, sadly, late double, so it was an 86. But it was another day, Huss, where I turned 82 into 86. But some great progress. Had a lesson with DI, as you know, on the putting front, and had a season low 81 on the weekend. So happy to report we've got some progress.
Oh, there's a 70.
Let's go.
There's a 7 in your future, Ken. Well, you know what? When you get
Keep
back,
the tour
we'll get out
rolling.
to Breezy. We'll get out to Breezy and play in some tournament conditions before the Open.
Yes, sir. Can't wait.
Thanks for doing this. Have a good weekend. I'm looking forward to your Back to the Future musical review next week on Winnipeg Sports Talk.
Yeah, we'll bring Sergio back for a duet, maybe. We'll see how she goes.
You got it. Take it easy, dude. There's Kenny Wiebe. Man, very jealous. Going to that Jays Yankees game tomorrow night. That is going to be a well, I'll be watching it. I know that, of course, the game tonight. We'll hit that in the Cool Bet lines coming up. Listen, we've had a lot going on. Gabe Vilardi's back for 6 years. Jonathan Taves has been signed. You can head down to Royal Sports and lock in your jerseys for next season as the #1 spot for Jets fan gear. And hey, don't forget about the Blue Bombers. Tons of exclusives that you won't find anywhere else for Blue Bomber fans waiting for you at Royal. Not to mention everything with summer: soccer, softball, baseball, tennis, running, an incredible selection of bikes as well. That big Yeti section, and of course, it's 12 months a year is the hockey superstore in town as you look ahead to next season. Royal Sports, 750 Pembina Highway. Check them on Instagram as well, Royal Sports Winnipeg, for the latest merchandise drops and sale information. And yeah, listen, if you're looking for a great spot to watch the game tonight, might I suggest you roll up to your local Boston Pizza Sports Bar, enjoy some ice-cold schooners, world-famous BP wings, gourmet pizzas, and the Jays and Yankees starting at 6 p.m. And hey, if you are staying at home, get all your favorites and taste for the new summer menu by ordering online at bostonpizza.com. All right, Sergio Castillo about to join us. Before we do that, a big cheers to Winnipeg's favorite local brewery, our good friends at Little Brown Jug.
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we
All right, let's do it. We've been waiting for this for a while. Coming off another strong performance, including a 58-yard bomb. It is Blue Bomber kicker and great friend of the program, Sergio Castillo. Sergio, what is going on? It's great to have you back on WST. How you feeling?
I'm doing well. Thank you guys for having me. It's been a good start to the season so far, right? You know, we're on a roll, special teams wise, and I'm glad to be here. I heard you guys talking about, golf earlier. I'm like, I hope I get invited to that too.
Hey, you know what? We'd love to get you out at Breezy. How's the game? Do you get out quite a bit? And who do you play with when you're playing?
So lately it's been my wife and my son. I finally got, my wife has the golf bug.
Nice.
Right? Yes. So now I don't have to make excuses while I'm out for 4 hours. She's there with me, and she's seen my pain. And she understands the pain now, right? Because you get that one good shot, and she's like, "Why can't I create this all the time?" I'm like, and that's why we golf.
That's the
right?
game. That's the
game, right? But with the boys, Jake Kelly, Jameson, Jameson's he's just so good. Him and Jake Kelly, they're pretty darn good. And then just Benson once in a while when we get out there as well. But lately it's just been with the wifey and my little boy Jared, right? So he's he hit a drive the other day. I think it went a good 35, 40 yards in the air. So, hopefully he can keep it going, being on the course.
I got to tell you, you get the young ones in there early, and they really take to it. I mean, it's an amazing sport. You can play your entire life. Let's start off with the football team, and we'll get back to it. Back at practice today, must have been great for everybody to see your leader, Zach Collaros, under center after leaving Friday's game, and obviously some legitimate concern anytime somebody leaves in that fashion.
Yeah, just to have him back, it's he's our captain, our capitan, our leader, right? So, it's always good for him to be back out there, right? So, But I think, it's a fresh new start for the whole team, right? So we're going to Toronto. I love playing in grass, by the way, right? So I'm excited about that aspect. But just to be back out, after, having that loss, is okay. Finally get excited to do something about it, right? So it's just to ease the tension, at least for me mentally, right? It's just like, okay, get back on the practice field. There's some kicks that I went 2 for 2, right? But the 45, I got really lucky because I rushed it a little bit more than usual. And I don't know if you see the replay, it kind of goes a little bit right. And I mean, left, I thought it was going to hook, and unfortunately it came back in. So, just to get back in a groove of things with the operation, right, with Ian and Jams.
Hey, let me ask you just about your job in specific as the kicker. How different is it preparing and going out trying to execute like a 58-yard nuke as opposed to, say, a 40-yarder? I mean, is it essentially the same thing and you're just going through the same motions, or is the run up longer? I mean, do you do things differently when you're trying to connect from long range, which you do better than anybody else in the CFL?
Appreciate those words. It's the same process every time. If you look at an extra point, it goes 60, 65 yards every time, right? So if you can create the same, it's all about having the same process, the same cues, right? I tell myself my same cues, and everybody's different. But for me, it's being soft on my feet. And if I'm soft on my feet, everything else will be squared. It will be, foot to ball contact. So for me, it's just being soft on my feet, 2 deep breaths, and that's what I remind myself every single time. Now, I will say this. So Friday morning, the wifey and Jared and I, we go have breakfast, and I'm trying to remember the name of this gentleman. But him and his wife, they bought our breakfast, and he's like, "Hey, Serge, I always sit on section 141." And he's like, "You can't miss me." And he's like, "I'm always standing and I have my hands up when you're going to go kick." And sure enough, I'm kicking the 58 and I see this gentleman with his hands up, and I think he had an old Bomber jersey. I think it was a Milt Stegall one. And I see him on the right center of the field goal post. And I'm like, that's where I'm aiming. I'm aiming towards him. So other than purchasing the breakfast for my family and I, he gave me a good location to point for the 58-yarder.
And people say the fans don't help out the product on the field.
Mind you, so this, and my breakfast is not something that's little or I mean, I'm not going to say a lot, but it's not cheap either, right? I always have a 3-egg meat lover's omelet along with 4 or 5 pancakes, right? And then if you count the other 2 that I eat from my son because he never finished it, I'm the reliever. Speaking of baseball, I always have to come in clutch and finish all the pancakes.
You probably got to go have a nap after that breakfast.
Oh, I do. And I love, so I'll have a big old breakfast, and then I just love watching movies. We're actually watching Happy Gilmore, Mr. Deeds. The wifey had never seen Mr. Deeds. I'm like, you're missing out. So we were on Adam Sandler binge watch right before the game.
I think I saw Scotty Scheffler, who won the U.S. or the Open Championship on the weekend. Last night, he brought the claret jug to the premiere of Happy Gilmore 2.
Yeah.
We're going to be seeing that at some point over the course of the next week, I guess, too. So you can add that one to the list as well. Serge, as far as today being back at practice, I mean, listen, it was a great start, 3-0, sort of a bit of a wake-up call against Calgary in the first game, and then you go on to the bye and come back, and obviously, as a team, don't have the performance that that you wanted to. You got another chance to get back into the win column. Big game against Toronto this week. How different is it, or is it at all? Because this team seems so businesslike, coming back to work after a game, a very rare home loss, as opposed to what you're usually used to do is coming back after another win and then focusing on the next opponent.
And that's sports. That's why you play the game, right? Because you just never know what's going to happen. But like you mentioned, we have a great home record over the past 3, 4, 5 years. But the thing that's very different about this team, the culture that they've been able to build here, right, is just like, win or loss, there's still plays that we can always do better, right? So at the end of the day, is like, what can we always, even when we win, what are things that we can do better at so we are not in a situation where it's tight, and vice versa now, right? Like at the end of the day, is like now we can look at our own mistakes and see ways that we can get better at, right? So even myself, right, where it's just how can I help a teammate out? Maybe not so much from the football aspect, from the mental aspect, right? How can I help him, so he can have a clearer mind coming into the game, right? Because at the end of the day, we're all human beings. And so if I can find a way to reach a teammate through that, is like, I always write that down every day in my notes, is like, find a teammate and find a way to connect with him, right? Because if we can become more than teammates, where I can get to know the person behind the helmet, under the helmet, then that's when we start getting better.
Well, and listen, I mean, lots of work to be done, but it is important. I mean, as much as like it was a disappointing game, and Bomber fans, I will admit, have been very, very spoiled over this run under Mike O'Shea, where the team pretty much wins almost every time at home, and the record speaks for themselves. But this team started off 0-4 last year and was 2-6 and still won the West. So I would imagine, Sergio, despite a pretty significant hiccup in these games against Calgary, and credit to them, they've turned into a very, very strong squad. You'll get a chance to get them later on. There's still a true belief in this team that they're right there, and it's time to get out and practice and improve and just be better next week.
100%. When we just got to focus on what's today. And I think one thing that it's when I came back here in 23, we were down to Edmonton 20-something points, and that's when Drew came and he led us. But I look at the sideline when we're down by like 20-something points, and everyone was calm, and I'm like, is this normal? And that's when I knew that I'm like, you know what, this team is pretty special, because it starts with Osh, and then it trickles down to our leaders, right? With Willie, Stan, Zach, and then obviously our special teams guys, right? With Shane. So once you start seeing that from your leaders, where there's calmness, is like, okay, we're going to find a way. So, and like you mentioned, it's business. Like, we come back in day one and just start doing the little things so they can show up on game days.
Sergio Castillo is with us from the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Sergio, you also put out a nice Instagram post recently celebrating 100 games in the Canadian Football League. Just thoughts on that milestone and how comfortable you are being here in Winnipeg as a member of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers now.
It's I was talking with Osh today, and I was reminiscing on the time from when it first started, right? And my first game, I remember it being October 10th, 2015, and it was in BC. And I remember in warm-ups, I had a bad warm-up. And Osh comes up to me, he's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, this is normal. I always have a bad warm-up." And man, boy, was I nervous.
I always have a bad warm-up. Just what the coach wants to hear, I'm sure.
Right? And it's just crazy how it's about to be 10 years ago, right? And it's been through 5 different organizations, 5 different cities. And the way I see it is, I'm like, at least 5 different cities in the CFL, right? And a couple down south. And I've just enjoyed the people I've met along the way, the memories I've been able to make, not only just me, but the people who have supported me along the way, right? My wife, my coaches from high school, college, even middle school, and my friends, they've been able to live this dream of my dream as well, right? And so it's just been an amazing journey so far. A kid from La Joya, Texas, didn't know much about football, and I'm still learning, right? I still don't know much. I just kick the ball and that's it. But it's just been an amazing journey just to be where I'm at right now, right? And just fortunate to be playing, 10 years into this.
Was your background, like as a kid growing up on the soccer pitch? Like, was that kind of how you got going and then transitioned to football?
Yeah, it was soccer, baseball, but also music. I was in band in high school, and originally I wanted to major in music, right? And I remember the first time they told me, "Hey, Sergio, you're going to be on the football team." This was my sophomore year in high school. I told the coach, I'm like, "Thank you, but hey, if I cannot march in halftime, if I can't be in band, I'm not going to play football." And he's like, "Oh no, we'll find a way." And he's like, "We've had kickers in the past who were in band." And so my mom would drop me off at 6:30 in the morning every day before school started, and I would kick before school, and then after school, I would do band. I would practice band. So, and it wasn't until my junior year, going into my senior year of high school, where I was like, "Hey, I can actually, do something, with this, maybe get a college education through kicking a football." And that's how it went. So But originally it was soccer, and band what I really wanted to pursue after high school.
So let me ask this: like, when you negotiated this deal with the coach, like, you're on the sideline, did you have to go change from your uniform to the band uniform, get out there at halftime, and then rip back and get back into your kicking gear?
Yeah. So marching band is big in the States and even Texas as well, right? So, and then in La Jolla, we would, back then when we were one high school, we were close to, I think, 5,000 kids.
Whoa.
Right. So our high school games, you'd be 8, 9, 10,000, and you get into the playoffs, you'd be in the 12, 13,000 fans, right? So halftime will come around, I'll take my pads off, and then I'll put my bass drum on because I was in the drum line. And then as soon as halftime performance was over, I would put my pads back on. So the first year, true story, when I first started playing football, I started questioning myself. I'm like, man, I'm not going to be able to get the halftime tacos that we would get from marching, right? So there is this, it was called Felix Barbecue Tacos. And after marching my freshman year, after every performance, we'll get 2 tacos. You get one beef fajita, and then you get one with sausage. And then fresh, homemade flour tortillas that were just so good. And I remember when I made the football team, I'm like, man, I'm not going to be able to enjoy this. So what I started doing, I would leave my bass drum on purpose next to my kicking net. And my best friends, Steven and Roger, who are still my boys to this day, when they would pick up my drum, they would leave me 2 tacos in my kicking bag. And in the third quarter, I'd be on one knee and I'd be eating them.
Hey, you know what? This is a perfect time for you to get. We always love chatting food as well in this program.
Ooh, yes.
As a taco expert, I've noticed more and more taquerias sort of opening up in and around Winnipeg. Have you found? Is there a Sergio Castillo endorsed taco joint that taco lovers should try here in the Peg?
I haven't. Stanley and Patty have been sending me, a couple on Instagram. I can't recall the names. I haven't been to them yet, but so far it's been, whatever the wife cooks or whatever, or my mother-in-law. Before I came up for training camp, she probably made like a good 60 or 70 flour tortillas, and I froze them. And so I brought them over. So we just been freezing them like a little bit at a time. So, but I've been itching to go to, I think one of them's called Berto's or something like that.
Yeah, Berto's.
Yeah, that's the one that stands. And so as of right now, my house is a spot. and then I got, so my mother-in-law is going to come in August to help me take care of Jared while the wifey goes back and teaches. So everything that she makes is always fresh. So every day you're going to wake up to a smell of fresh homemade tortilla.
Oh, dude.
Oath might be mad because I might gain probably like 6 or 8 pounds in the month of August.
Your teammates are going to hear about this and go, hey, Serge, you need any help around the place? Just let me know when the tortillas are coming up.
I'll tell you this. Every time my mom comes and visits, since I was in university in 2009, my mom, along with my mother-in-law who came to visit in 22 when I was in Edmonton, every day they would probably make like 20 or 30 breakfast tacos for the guys. And over the week, they probably make over 100. So, and it's just all fresh, right? And so you can go with bean and egg or just beans and cheese, machacado con huevo. Machacado's dried, basically beef jerky with egg. That's so good right there. Or barbacoa, right?
I'm getting hungry just listening.
My mouth is watering right now.
This conversation. Hey, what about non-taco related, like not necessarily Mexican food at all? Mm-hmm. Have you, now that you've been here for a bit, you've been around, got the family, where are the go-to food spots for either you when you're going out with the fellas or with the family, your faves?
Obviously Nicolino's, Montechillos. I think I'm pronouncing it right, Montechillos. You can't go wrong with Leopold's as well. I'm trying to think. Osha's going to be mad, but BDI ice cream. Because he has his own favorite, which I can't remember, but I like BDI's. But it's just a nice little walk. You get about 2 cones for yourself, right? Because I don't like sharing with my son. And you just do a nice little walk over the bridge, right? But yeah, non-taco, those would have to be the spots. Pizza, we actually had St. Lucia's. Is that how you say it? Right?
Santa Lucia.
San Lucia, pretty good. yeah. So those have been the spots for right now. Yeah.
Nicely done. Nicely done. Well, I'm sure just that's just some suggestions for a few people. Of course, our pal Nick over at Nicolino's takes good care of the fellas, and certainly a great
Yes.
spot before and after
Yes.
The games.
When you go, you got to ask for the specific spicy sauce.
Yes, well, I'll maybe leave that to the experts on this.
No. You got to try it.
Hey, listen, before we go, Remo and I are going to be making our picks for the track tonight. You ever get out and see the horses out at Assiniboia Downs?
All the time.
So fun.
You know, so I grew up in the horse racing world back in Texas and a little bit in Mexico, right? And I have family and friends that used to ride, so or they're horse trainers. They're not jockeys anymore. So, but yeah, we try to get the family out there, and it's just nice, just chill environment. It's so open too, right? So the kids can be running around. Be nice to go shoot some photos of the horse races one of these days. I actually went to the Stampede in Morris.
On the weekend.
Yes. So the directors reached out, Mr. Wiebe and Alexandra. They asked a while back, like in March, if I could come take photos. I honestly did not know it was this big. Talk about an adrenaline rush when, I think they're called chariot horse races.
Yeah.
And it blew my mind. And we loved it. I can't wait for next year. But next year I want to go to all 3 days.
It certainly is the biggest event of that nature in the province all year long. Yeah, Motown gets ready for the Stampede, and it was a busy one. Some great videos and shots over on
appreciate it.
Over on the spot. Sergio, always great catching up. How you feeling about getting back into the win column as the team heads out to Toronto on Saturday? Before
we're excited for the next opportunity, right? Which is Toronto, right? So, one thing I've been really good at the past couple of years, which I think why has helped me on the personal standpoint elevate my game, is I've been where my 2 feet are at, right? I really enjoy day one. I'm enjoying the heck out of this conversation right now, and after this, I'm gonna go eat some tortillas, right? So. I think it's just if you're able to be present and not get too far ahead, then it eases the mind. If the mind is at ease, then the body will follow the rest, right? So just being where our 2 feet are at, and we'll go from there.
Well, as long as those tacos keep on fueling those nukes from your leg that keep on going through the uprights, that's what we need.
The longest, sorry to cut you off, but the longest field goals I had last year were 260s, and then we've hit a 58 this year. And it's when the wife cooks me rice and beans every time with a good homemade salsa and tortillas, powered by beans, powered by frijoles.
Bring some of that on the road with you. You got to make sure you're fueled up and ready for a big one on Saturday against the Argos.
All right, we definitely will be.
Hey, thanks so much for doing this, Sergio. As always, say hi to the fellas back there, and good luck on Saturday. We'll look forward to doing this again later on this year.
Sounds good. You have a good one. I'll see you on the course.
You bet. Hey, listen, you guys are back. You get that win, we'll have a pass and a tea time waiting for you when you come back.
Let's do it.
Right on. All right, there's Sergio Castillo. And as I say, check out the Instagram as well. Really great post on his 100 games in the Canadian Football League. And, obviously, I mean, what an absolute beauty. We talk about colorful characters. He is one of our faves here on Winnipeg Sports Talk, and you can talk football, you can talk just about everything else, and it is always fun with Sergio Castillo. All right, let's say we will get to our picks coming up for the track tonight, and do not forget 3:15 we have CFL 110. We've got the Fish back in action tonight. Let's see, where are we going here? Back, they've snapped the losing streak. We continue they're in Chicago to take on the Chicago Dogs. It's the All-Star break right now. That's right. So they're away for a couple days. And then, Chicago for 3. And then the Gold Eyes back in Winnipeg for your next chance to see the Fish heading into the August long weekend against the Milwaukee Milkmen.
I'm
kind of as well. Yes, you are in August.
I was on July. I'm all right.
Joggers, they had that. So yeah, Milwaukee Milkmen home. Or sorry, I should say, what the heck? I'm mixing up home and away.
Yeah, it's in Milwaukee on the weekend. They're home Thursday.
Yeah, the Chicago Dog Series is home. So I'm completely flipping the home and road. That's on me. Great news. The losing streak is over. They're back in the win column. Few days off to get ready and hopefully get on a real roll. Starting off on the 25th, Thursday, right through the weekend, and next week. Of course, tickets for the Fish at 982 base or goldeyes.com. A quick note on the Breezy Bend Golf Report today. We've got the 3M Open coming up this weekend. Sam Burns is your favorite. Chris Gotterup, fresh off of playing in the Open Championship and winning the week before at the Scottish Open, is the second favorite, 18-1. Mav McNeely, not a really star-studded field coming out of the Open Championship, which is normal. But of course, we will have a star-studded field on the PGA Tour Americas at the Manitoba Open next month at Breezy Bend. I can tell you, playing the course, it is getting harder for the membership to handle. The roughs growing in. They're going to try and make it as difficult as possible for the pros that'll be here for that. Check out ManitobaOpen.com for information on sponsorship, volunteering, and of course the Pro-Am, which should be amazing. Everyone gets a tailor-made Spider putter as well for being part of the Pro-Am. Information at ManitobaOpen.com for that, and we will be there live for a few days when the tournament comes here later on this year. All right, we will get to, I was just looking at fan feedback for our friends at fansfirst.ca. By the way, shout out to the man, Ezra Ginsburg, who popped in today. A number of different predictions for the Sandberg deal that we asked you about it. By the way, shout out to Spency. Thanks for the super chat. Pay to win. Let's go blue. It seemed, Remis, in fan feedback for Fans First, your number one spot for buying and selling Winnipeg tickets on the resale market. It seems like people are all pretty much expecting a 6 or a 7 year for Dylan Sandberg. And, you know, while his offensive production wouldn't necessarily suggest a deal in and around $6 million, I think we've got a lot of pretty educated Jet fans that know of his importance to the team, want him here long term, and are more than willing to pay the toll to get him there, potentially upwards of 6 a season.
Yeah, it seems like the consensus is it's going to be longer term. I remember last year was a Perfetti negotiation. You know, you weren't really sure. Could it be a shorter term or could it be a longer one? And even Vilardi, I think there was some uncertainty. This one, I think you and Ken seem to have it eyeballed onto what it's going to be. We'll see how correct that you are. But Dylan Sandberg's been a huge contributor to the blue line, becoming one of the more unsung defensemen. Doesn't put up a lot of points, but in terms of defending, he is elite. And some bold stuff from Ken saying World Cup, Team USA on the horizon for him. So it's been great to see him grow into his NHL career after starting with the Manitoba Moose and working his way into a regular spot. And even coming to this season, you're like, they lost Brendan Dillon. Could Dylan Sandberg reach out and grab a hold of that second pair? Not only did he grab it, he excelled this season. So hopefully it is a longer term one. We can have one of those conference calls to discuss here either this week or next week before the arbitration date.
Yeah, if you just popped in a little late today, the Sandberg ARB date is set for the 30th, which is next Wednesday. So basically the two sides have 7-8 days to get something done. I would imagine, like normal, it usually will come out potentially on like, let's circle Tuesday for the contract. So a week today, we'll find out on how long Dylan Sandberg's signing up for the Winnipeg Jets. I do not see a scenario where this goes to arbitration. Certainly Ken had that opinion, and let's hope that is the case because Sandberg's too important to not have here long term, and certainly it sounds like both sides are very much amicable to do that. We'll continue to follow that here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Don't forget, fan feedback brought to you by Fans First. No fees, by fans, for fans. No fees. Check out the site today at fansfirst.ca. All right, we do have CFL 110 coming up in about 13 minutes. First things first, let's get to tonight's action on the diamond and over at coolbet.com. Nice win for the Jays last night. I got on that one. I missed my Paul Skeens prop by one damn strikeout. God, I wish they'd let this guy pitch a little bit more. But we've got a great slate of games tonight. Teeing off with the Yankees and the Blue Jays. And the Jays, minus 123 favorites in this one. New York, plus 105. You want an Addison Barger homer, plus 447 on that one. The pitching for tonight, Mad Max Scherzer takes the hill for the Blue Jays. Looks like the pitching, the strikeout prop for Scherzer, over 5.5 minus 135, over 6.5 plus 138. Cam Schlittler is the starter for the New York Yankees. As far as homer props, wonder if Vladdy has one in tonight. 4-1 plus 399 to get one tonight. I love the way Bo Bichette was swinging the ball yesterday. I think my favorite ones though was Plater total bases. And I'm going to lean on over 1.5 for Alejandro Kirk. Had a couple doubles yesterday, seeing the ball very, very well. But now with the excitement about the Blue Jays, not much else going on, expanded props. I mean, just for this game tonight, there are stolen bases, walks, strikeouts, player batting combos. What does that mean? Oh, hits plus runs plus RBIs. That's actually a really fun market. Maybe have to dance on that. And then, of course, you can do a bet builder. There's first fives, game props, and more. But let's just ride with the money line. Minus 123 on the Blue Jays tonight. Now, if you go to the combo cards, you will see I've put together a little triple play for tonight. We kept the Jays off of it, but feel free to throw the Jays on it as well if you would like. But if you want the boost, we're taking the Guardians over the Orioles. Orioles have a struggling pitcher, no wins on the season, 7 ERA. Cleveland's been playing well. They're minus 154. The Tigers against the Pirates are only a minus 130 favorite. Pittsburgh pretty much wins when Paul Skeens pitches, and that's about it. Tigers, one of the best teams in the league. We're going to take Detroit. And listen to this, Remo. The Milwaukee Brewers have won 11 games in a row. They've got the best record in Major League Baseball at 60-40, and yet they're getting plus money against the Seattle Mariners, your Seattle Mariners. I'm riding with the Brewers. Those three, Cleveland, Detroit, Milwaukee, if you just put it in, would be plus 494. Our buddy Jake got it boosted up to plus 567 right now. So I'm going to roll with those three teams. Amazing what Milwaukee's doing. We've talked so much about how hot the Jays are. And much like the Jays, Milwaukee's still an underdog and plus money to win their division ahead of the Cubs, despite being in first place right now.
Yeah, Milwaukee just went into the Dodgers and smacked them around a bit. So people are beginning to notice. They have the All-Star Miz on the hill tonight. And yeah, they just went into the Dodgers post-All-Star break. Won 3 in a row. Really impressive. I saw a stat yesterday that like the pitcher with the worst ERA is Quintana. I'm trying to bring it up, but it was still very low. So I think they're getting it down with the pitching, the bats strong. Watch out for the Brewers, and they did win last night against Seattle. Why not keep it going? Plus money, some decent value there.
All right. Other things up at CoolBet right now include odds for the 3M Open, as I mentioned. Sam Burns, the favorite at 16-1, Goddard 18. Mav McNeely, who's right now in the top 12 for Ryder Cup standings, at 20-1. And noted jerk, Wyndham Clark, who did play very well at the Open Championship. He finished 4th. He's at 25-1. And Canadian Taylor Pendrith, along with Max Greiserman, 28-1. Wow, it just goes to show you where Tony Finau has been lately. Finau 33-1, along with Ricky Fowler, Jake Knapp, and Davis Thompson. Finau's won this event though before. I might put a little sprinkle on my guy Tony to see if he can get it done. Everything waiting for you at CoolBet. You got NFL futures, latest on the CFL, and we're going to get to this coming up in just a minute on CFL 110. Already seen a little bit of line movement right now. Calgary is 6.5-point favorites now, 6 earlier today. The Riders are 9.5-point favorites. That was 10 earlier today. The Bombers are now 3.5-point favorites. That was 3 earlier today. And the only line that hasn't moved is Hamilton and BC. BC 3.5-point favorites. As I move down, we do have the CFL Week 8 boost up. Bombers to win, Stamps -5.5, Ticats +3.5. That is boosted to +440. Make sure to stay tuned to CFL 110, which is coming up next for more on that. Our picks for the week and all the big stories in the Canadian Football League coming out of week number 7. Remo, it is time. We are back at the Downs. I salvaged the week with a pretty nice Wednesday. And now some tough decisions on what looks to be a great night of racing. 8 races and some big fields later on in the evening.
Yeah, 8 races. I got thrown off when trying to make my picks, so I got them all in. Excited to get back at it as I try to chase you down. Maybe went a little conservative here today, just picking a couple straight winners, but I did get my exacta. I did get my trifecta, so we will see tonight for 8 races.
Nicely done. All right, why don't you? I'm just finishing up mine. Why don't you just give me a quick rundown of what you're cooking up?
Let me bring mine up very quickly, as I have. I'm on race 2, 5, 7, and 8. As I fire it up right now, HPI Bet is the website. So let's ride. Race 2, I've got a 1-6 exacta box, Magic Chrome, 1-6, Magic Chrome, and Sum It Up. And we got that one, and I got 5, 7, and 8. 5, I'm 3, 5, 7, trifecta, that is Brinson, Pickin' Riffs, and Caranthos. That's 2 of the program picks with a longer shot, and I was picking straight winners, 7 and 8, race 7, horse 7. That is Hey, Sweet Darlin', and that's to win. And horse 3 on race 8 to win. That is Always the Lil One. So hopefully I can get a bit of an upset there for a nice payout. So those are my 4 picks as we do race nights at the Down.
Yeah. Okay, I'm starting it off with a bit of a long shot in race number 2. Love the name of this one. $2 on number 5, Island High. Island High to win race number 2. There's a big chalk favorite in that one. Race number 3, I will be taking the favorite. $5 on Exacting to win. That one's opening at 1-1. So, I mean, basically even money. Hopefully it'll be a little bit better, but I guess we will see. In race number 6, throwing down $4 on number 1, Free Maker to win. And then race number 7, going on a bit of a longer shot, $3 on number 3 to win, Mr. Splash, which opened up at 12-1. And then my triactor box in race number 8, we're going 1, 3, 6. Savage Love. One of our all-time favorites, Remo. I had to get Savage Love in on it, along with Always the Little One and Compressed Energy. So a 1, 3, 6 triactor box for the final race. The top 2 ranked horses, and then mixing in Savage Love always seems to be in the mix once they get down to the finish line.
I have one on Savage Love before, so good luck to you tonight, but not too much luck. I do want to catch up to you, so hopefully mine hit, and maybe you can get a token one.
Yes, well, I'm sure. I'll take it right now. I want to just stay above, with the head above water on the positive side of the ledger, which I still am. after that great start to the season. Hey, if you're staying at home, you can always bet at hpibet.com and watch the great coverage Kirk, Stretch, and the fellas put on the Assiniboia Downs YouTube channel, which will be live at around 6:30, about an hour before post time. Kirk and Stretch come on with far more educated opinions than myself or Michael on this evening's races, but that certainly is the place to go. And, you know, considering, Remo, all we really have right now is Jays. I mean, Fish still on the road. Great opportunity midsummer to get out to Assiniboia Downs. And hopefully the rain that we had last night and everything today will kind of cruise away, and should be some nice conditions for some action tonight at the track and then again tomorrow.
Yes, big night, and nice to get some rain, and as we did have some smoke over the weekend, some air quality, but I think that's all cleared up. So great to be outside at a place like the Downs. Sergio said, nice to be out, open air, watching these great horses go around the track, and also put a couple wagers down as well, or the buffet perhaps.
Yes, well, the buffet is where maybe we'll do that tomorrow before a full slate of live racing. Fun show today, man. Sergio, I could talk to that dude for an hour, and we will have to get him out to Breezy Bend. It'd be a lot of fun to sit in a cart and just hear Sergio stories in between shots all afternoon. I'd be down for that.
Great time talking with Sergio. You celebrated 100 games in the CFL. What a journey it's been. Went through some of the pictures that he posted on his Instagram. LSurge41. So he's welcome back anytime.
By the way, Connor, who would certainly be driving the bus for the Dylan Sandberg fan club, he might pump up Sandberg's tires more than his own agent, but with good reason. Oh, Connor in chat, I'm hearing Dylan Sandberg record talk. 45-12-2. That's a stunning record with one player. And I think you can do the math on the other side of things as what it looks like when he's not there right now. So got a week and a bit to get it done. I imagine that it will. Everyone hoping that Dylan Sandberg will be locked in, maybe no more so than his partner, Neil Pionk, who, speaking of that record that looks a lot better, so do the numbers when Sandberg's on side with Pionk, who, of course, got his extension during last season. All right, it's 3:15. That is going to do it for us. Thanks again to all the sponsors that make the show happen each and every day. But for those of you that are with us on YouTube, please do not go anywhere, because we've got more programming. The premiere of the latest edition of CFL 110, also powered by our friends at CoolBet, is live right now. We'll take you over there directly. If you're listening on the podcast, check it out as we get ready for the Bombers heading to Toronto and a big week in the Canadian Football League. Join us tomorrow. Much more on the Blue Jays, the Jets off season, the Bombers' preparation for the Argos, all right here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. But right now, CFL 110 is live.
Oh my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.